Assalamu alaikum and a very warm welcome to you all. Today we're going to dive into a really profound story, one that touches on guidance, doubt, and the very nature of belief. We'll explore how a divine message is delivered, why some people might push it away, and the huge responsibility that ultimately lies with each and every one of us. Okay, so let's get right to the heart of it with this question. Just imagine for a second. A clear, undeniable path to the truth opens up right in front of you. What on earth could possibly make someone say, no thanks? It's a question that's been asked throughout all of human history, and our source material gives a really fascinating answer. And there it is. That's the main roadblock. The text tells us that the #1 objection people had when guidance came was this exact question. They just couldn't get their heads around the idea that God would choose one of them, a normal, everyday human being, to be his messenger. So that brings us to our first section. We're going to dig a little deeper into this whole objection. Why was the fact that the messenger was human such a huge stumbling block for so many people? What's so interesting here is how it breaks down this prejudice. See, people had this fixed idea of what a messenger from God was supposed to look like. You know, maybe someone otherworldly, like an angel. The powerful elites in Mecca, for example, they openly mocked the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, calling him a mere mortal. But get this, it wasn't a new thing. The source is super clear that this pattern of rejecting human prophets had happened again and again throughout history. So, if the messenger's humanity was the problem, what was the divine wisdom behind it? Let's jump into our next section and see how the source explains the beautiful logic in picking a messenger who was just like the people he was sent to guide. And this just illustrates the whole point perfectly. Verse 95 lays out this simple but incredibly powerful argument. The messenger has to match the audience. I mean, it just makes sense, right? If Earth were full of angels, then sure, an angel would be sent. But since we're humans walking this land, the only logical choice is a human messenger. Someone who can actually live with us, who gets our struggles and can be a real, relatable example of how to live out the message. Okay, but what if that logic just isn't enough for the people who still doubt? Well, that's when the conversation shifts. It moves away from human-level reasoning to the ultimate final source of authority. This is the messenger's final answer. When faced with all that denial, he appeals to a higher court, you could say. He's basically saying, my proof, my validation, it comes directly from God himself. What a powerful statement. It just lifts the whole argument beyond human debate. God is the one who knows all, sees all, and is the ultimate witness. And this brings us to a really crucial concept. Guidance, at the end of the day, is from God. A messenger can deliver the message, but it's God who opens the heart. Verse 97 makes it clear that true guidance comes only from him. And for those who are allowed to stray because of the choices they make, well, there's no other protector for them. This really puts the spotlight on our own personal responsibility in all this. Now, with that understanding of guidance and choice, the tone has to shift. The source material now lays out a very stark, very serious warning about the consequences of knowingly turning your back on that guidance. It's made crystal clear that the final stage for these consequences is the day of judgment. That's the day when all the books are opened, every account is settled, and every single choice we ever made is weighed. The imagery here in verse 98 is just incredibly vivid. Those who denied the truth are described as being gathered in a state of absolute humiliation. The very senses they failed to use for guidance in this life, their sight, their hearing, are taken away. The punishment is described as being incredibly severe and direct. And it's not something that just ends. Verse 101 uses this really powerful phrase, ever adhering. This isn't a punishment you can just shake off or escape from. It's described as something that literally clings to a person, permanent and inescapable. And these verses just build on that idea. They describe hell not as some temporary stop, but as the final, permanent home for those who chose defiance. It's called a wretched place of rest, a blazing fire that completely surrounds the wrongdoers. It really drives home the sheer gravity of that choice to disbelieve. And just to show that these aren't just abstract warnings, that they have real historical weight, the source gives us a powerful case study. It talks about the prophecy given to the children of Israel from verses 106 to 108. It's a real-world example of how divine promises and punishments are carried out with perfect precision. When their first act of corruption happened, the consequence came exactly as foretold. It's a powerful reminder that God's warnings always come to pass. So this brings us all the way back around, right back to the central theme that's been running through this whole story, the power and the immense responsibility of human choice. And it all leads up to this verse right here. I mean, it's such a clear, direct declaration of free will. It basically says, look, the truth from your Lord has come, the path has been shown to you, and after that, the decision is completely 100% up to the individual. You can believe or you can disbelieve. But that freedom doesn't just hang there in a vacuum. The very next verse makes it clear. Choice is directly tied to consequence. For those who choose the path of disbelief and wrongdoing, a severe outcome has been prepared. It's this perfect balance between free will and divine justice. And so we're going to leave you with this question to really think about. The message is brought by a messenger we can relate to. The truth is witnessed by God himself. And the choice? The choice is all ours. The source material lays it all out, and it leaves us to ponder that deep, deep connection between our freedom and our final destination. What is the true weight of the choices we make every single day? Thank you so much for joining me.